Do you believe in miracles? We got Fizzle in the house. Fizzle, what's good, man? Fizzle, glad to have you here.
Let's go. This the South Harmon Podcast. Glad you here today. Hit that Patreon link if you here to stay. Dynasty Best Ball, that's my favorite way. 40 Chess Trade Show, let's make a trade today or check the AMA. You know Adam at the ATM. Mike always in the building, he gon' stay with him. They gon' start every show off with their own trade. Fantasy's a big ocean, they made their own wave. Make sure you tapping in Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesday night, Saturday morning, ain't no better way. Hit that notification bell when the news break. Go subscribe right now, don't get the news late. Destination Devy, that's the team. Dynasty football, man, that's my favorite thing. I remember Biggie said it was all a dream. Now people watching on their phones and computer screens. Welcome to the team.
Welcome back in, everybody, to another edition of the Dynasty Trade Show. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see my man Adam is not at his crib. He is a gangster. He's out here doing it from a hotel on vacation, drinking White Claws. What a badass. What's going on, buddy? How's your vacation going, my friend?
Listen, Dynasty never sleeps, and South Harmon never sleeps. The 4D Trade Show never sleeps, right? I'm on vacation. It's midnight. My whole house is asleep, and we got our house in order, man. We are drinking. I stole this out of the fridge because the bar is closed here. Passion fruit White Claw. We're ready to go, Mike. We are ready to go. It's not the normal setup, but we are ready to go. We're ready to talk dynasty trades with you on this beautiful morning, Saturday. You aren't going to get two this week. I will give you one, but I'm not going to give you two this week on vacation. So get ready for that the following week. But at least this week you'll get one, even on vacation, man.
Hey, that's more than you can ask, right? We just get the one in. You got the pinstripe lights in the background. Sitting there in like a hotel ballroom. Let's go, man. I bet whoever was in there doing the wedding before you hopped in had a great night, had a great time, and Adam comes in to clean up with some 4D chess trades.
Listen, man, I came in here last night and there was a wedding. It was a bunch of people in here, and I was like, trying to sniff around for a business center or somewhere to do a live stream. And they're kind of like, get out of here. And then here we go, man. Next thing you know, today we have the Ballroom, as they call it here. But we're ready to go. If you want your deals featured on this show, patreon.com/South Harmon. $1 a month gets you in the door. If you want to put your trades in the Shithead Trades channel, very good chance that you will come on the show. We also do have a new patron in here, Mike, that has his deal at the very end of the show. We will show you. We also have breaking news as of yesterday. You're going to see this a week later, so you'll have seen it by a while now. SouthHarmonFF.com, our website. Koopa really helped us out a lot with that. If you are interested in looking at your league specifically, like we talk a lot about different league settings and all that. If you want to look at your league, you want to look at Warp. We have a tool that will give you every single one of your leagues, and if it's not a league that's on Sleeper, you put the settings into Sleeper, and that league now you can have the Warp advantages of that as well. Without further ado, though, Mike, you know what we do. Fizzle already told you. We start off with one of our own, and you know who's one of our own tonight? It's Iowa Michael. And Mike,
let's go.
You've been doing a lot of stuff to make people mad. This one I'm very curious if people are mad at because there's no way in my mind. But let's discuss it, man. Mike, let's just talk about this. 2018 2-copy Superflex Best Ball Start 11, right? So this is the Royal Rumble. And the Royal Rumble is it's the premier league for Destination Devy right now. And the fact that you pulled this off here, is pretty wild to me. Now, you and I are high on Sam Laporta until we weren't, and that's basically because the entire community is just out of their mind right now. So you're giving up Sam Laporta and a 24 first. Now, to give everyone an idea that doesn't play in the league, this first, if it's a lottery first, right, that becomes a total different scenario. But all Mike has to do is make the playoffs, and this team, this first is not anywhere near an early first because it's a 2018 2-copy league. So he's sending that and Sam Laporta, as well as, don't forget the $9.99. Speaking of, bidding dollars here, don't forget the $9.99 to go get Kyle Pitts. Mike, why don't you talk us through why you did this deal? If it was, him offering it to you, how it came about, and your thoughts before you hit the accept button.
Listen, a lot of it is probably just overconfidence in myself, but I don't see myself missing the playoffs. Now, this isn't the greatest team, Adam. It still has some holes, but we're also talking it's May. Like, there's a long time to make some moves, make some trades, have some value go up and down. I already kind of had a tight end horde going on. So if you think about it, it's a 28-team, 2-copy league. So just treat it as a 14-team superflex tight end premium. The tight end premium is 0.75, so it's significant. It's a best ball league. I already had a tight end horde kind of going on. I'm adding Kyle Pitts to a team that's got George Kittle, Darren Waller, Hunter Henry, Zach Ertz. I drafted Zach Kuntz, Will Mallory, Trey McBride's on the team as well. So I have a plethora of tight ends. I love Sam Laporta, but if I can take him and go get Kyle Pitts, what we're projecting Kyle Pitts to be, yeah, I'm going to do that 10 times out of 10. And one of the things you touched on it, we launched South Harmon Fantasy Football, and one of the biggest things on there, one of the membership things is Koopa Troopa's warp calculator, right? Wins over replacement. Big deal. If I pull it up, man, I can't pull MFL leagues, so I can't pull by my own yet. Maybe we'll be working on that. But Koopa has this great feature where I can just look at generic superflex, 1.75 tight end premium, and best ball, right? We're not even going to take into the whole consideration of 14 teams and scarcity of elite tight ends and that whole conversation. So this is just treating it like a 12-team league, man. What we project Kyle Pitts to be, I would say comfortably, Adam, we think why his dynasty value is so high is because he's young. But we also think he can get into that, tight end 1, 2, 3 territory, that elite range of tight ends. We saw a little bit of it in his rookie year. Adam, last year in Warp for tight end 2, we're looking at 1.49. So that's Mr. Mark Andrews and a 1.75 tight end premium. I think that's within Kyle Pitts' range of outcomes. And maybe I'm a little bullish, but even if I go to tight end 3, TJ Hawkinson, 1.39 Warp, that's a pretty big deal. We think about it, Adam, there's going to be people out there who are starting in best ball. Their best option is going to be tight end 14 at best. At best. There's going to be some people who are even worse, but let's just say on average.
At best, because, Mike, I mean, you're talking – some of these teams are going to be completely devoid of anything. But, yeah, to your point, go ahead.
So tight end 14 in Warp, tight end 15 in Warp, 0.6, 0.65, 0.66. That's kind of the range you're looking at. That's a pretty big gap in warp-wise, right? To go from a full point, I'm talking 1.65, a full point of warp is a big fucking deal. It's a big deal. So to get Kyle Pitts in this and add to the tight end horde, and I know, Adam, I don't know if this is a move once we get closer to the season, I'm so comfortable doing. I want Kyle Pitts, obviously, but it becomes harder with roster construction. I need running backs in the worst way on this team. But what's the easiest thing to get over the next couple months is going to be running backs. There's all kinds of old ones that people hate. And, I'll take any second for, give me this wide receiver. My team is built around tight ends and wide receivers. And I have a couple of quarterbacks that I'm taking a shot on that I think in my mind, I'm
Which are who, by the way? Just let everyone else know.
Tua and Trey Lance. Those are the quarterbacks that I've made my bed with. I'm going to ride or die with these guys.
And let's admit, those are two that are towards the most hated of a year ago from today, right?
Right. I'm shooting with upside with this team, but the running backs are god-awful, right? We're looking at Naheem Hines and James Robinson. I'm just throwing darts at a wall. So
sure.
Really what I'm looking to do with this team over the next couple months is when people go man, I need a tight end. Who are you going to come see? Me. Of course, I'm the only one that can really just trade away a comfortable tight end comfortably in a 14-team 0.75 tight end premium and not expect one back. Matter of fact, I don't want one back. I don't want another tight end back. I want a running back, or I want maybe that third quarterback, or maybe I want another wide receiver to add to the plethora of the ones that I have. So,
who better to come to for a tight end or any type of horde than Iowa Michael in any league at all, let alone the Royal Rumble, where everybody knows what's at stake because everybody wants to hear about it and know about it.
The nice thing is too, there's enough flex options. There's enough spots in this league, and as far as our starting lineup to go, where like if you are deep at tight end with the 0.75, these guys will make your flex in best ball. So even if people don't want them,
correct.
Like there's not with the current construction of tight ends I have, it's going to be hard pressed outside of like the Travis Kelce owner when I match up weekly because it's best ball, but it's matchup per week. It's a head to head with victory points and the whole work. There's not a lot of teams who are going to match up against me where I'm going to be at a deficit at tight end. Like I'm going to beat your ass every single week at tight end position.
Correct.
And I can just write that off. And with the 0.75, there's going to be times where I'm going to beat your ass at the flex spots as well. Just because those tight ends are going to have big weeks.
And that's the thing, right? The thing that you have going for you now is if the roster stays intact, it's the spike weeks. Because now – we all know that even the floor for these guys isn't that great sometimes.
Right.
But when these guys all fire in the same week in a 1.75 tight end premium and there's 28 random teams out there, like, Mike, your team could clean up before we even get the quarterbacks if you have 3 of the top 5 tight ends. Like, that's absolutely something you can win a week off of in a start 11 league. So I'll say this. I think on value, what's crazy about this is – just think about this for a second, everybody watching. And whether you love or hate Kyle Pitts, just think about it from this lens, and then we'll move on to the next trade. A year ago for Kyle Pitts, you would have had to trade somebody 3 liquid firsts. Now, you could be sitting here screaming, I would never do that. Okay, fine. And you ended up being the smart one. But that was the current cost, right? In just a standard tight end premium league, it was at least 2 firsts and a plus 3 type first, that was the value. Mike now in a tight end premium heavy league that probably values and rewards the tight end position almost as much as any, is getting what people still believe could be in the consideration for the tight end 1. And the cost is a single 24 first, which could end up being mid to late. And Sam Laporta, who a year ago, Mike was telling all you about Sam Laporta and none of you believed. And $9.99, just because we're going to add that to the deal. Like, we'll see what it comes to, fruition-wise. But when I saw this deal go through, Mike, I remember I almost spit some of my drink. It was just water. I was at work, through my nose because I could not believe when I read it for 3 or 4 times. Like, there's a scenario absolutely where Pillow Talk ends up winning this. And I know what he's trying to do. I understand completely his side of it. But Sam Laporta, unless you flip out of him, I am worried is starting to get to absolute ceiling for what his dynasty value could be, Mike. Like, let me just ask you this too. You were talking up Sam Laporta. Would you ever, in your wildest dreams, imagine tight end 10 before he plays football in the NFL? No. It's criminal, man. I think his value is criminal now for Pello. He doesn't have to hold that for forever. He could very easily trade that in a league like this because people will buy that. And so this deal could end up looking a number of different ways. I'm not trying to crush Pello, but when I saw this deal go through for you, I thought it was, let me just say, I thought it was cheap, even if you added the $9.99 out of it.
If it makes you and all the other Royal Rumble participants feel any better, my only regret on this deal is the fact that it was sent to me and I didn't even bother countering. I had no idea. Like most people send an offer where they're like, we're probably got a little wiggle room. I just saw it and I was like, am I reading this right? Am I reading this right? All right, accept. Like, I'm not messing around.
But see,
right? If it makes you feel better, I wasn't out there fishing. I wasn't out there going like, I value Sam Laporta here. Let's see if anybody else does as well.
Now, I will say you probably can't feel that great, though, that now you already kind of addressed this, but to me this also signals like there's people out there that say they want to bet against you, which I thought was interesting too. And we'll see how that plays out as well, because maybe that's the play. I don't personally see it as a bottom dweller team, but I'm curious how this plays out. I will just say that for me, I much would prefer Kyle Pitts, who I would hate to tell you guys what he went for in the auction when we did this startup last year, because it was something stupid. So
there's some like Dynasty Daddy site, and this isn't shitting on them, but like I've seen the ranks go around where it always puts my team as a fraud. right? Like, it's towards the top, but it's always a fraud. So maybe that was the thing that put him over the top. I don't know.
Well, I at least will applaud Dynasty Daddy for a great name, and also Mike is a fraud. I don't know about his teams in his league, but he's a fraud. All right, Koopa. We got to at least shout out Koopa, man. I didn't get a deal on because I'm on vacation. Believe it or not, I'm doing content, but I haven't got any deals done in like 5 days. Koopa's got to get on the show. Mike, what do you think of this deal? Samaje Perine, a 24-second being acquired from Ben Smith. He is sending away Chig Okonkwo, Jaylen Warren, who still, after all we saw last year, amazes me that there's this kind of like a little bit of a cult following on Jaylen Warren, which is wild to me when he didn't do a damn thing, really, with all the ability for him to get work when Najee was kind of banged up last year. And a 24-4th. Mike, 12-team, Superflex, half-point PPR, lineup start 10. What do you think here? I do know I didn't put it in here because I was typing it quickly. There is a tight end premium. I think it's just a standard tight end premium, so nothing too crazy. But
Perine and Jaylen Warren, like, can I say that I'm equally like unexcited about either one? Jaylen Warren in Denver.
Which would you take? Which would you?
Samaje Perine.
Which would you take one for one though? The only reason I don't disagree in values, but I lean one for sure.
I guess maybe Perine.
Yeah, and the reason is because
I say it reluctantly.
I like that you do that, and I'm kind of with you. Other than the fact that, like, we know Javonte, based on what we saw with J.K. last year, there's a scenario where he's not ready to take a lion's share early.
Yep.
So that's the only thing here, right? And if you told me that Najee was in the same scenario, I'd lean Jaylen Warren. It has nothing to do with the player of Samaje Perine or Jaylen Warren. It's all about opportunity. That's the only thing that differences the gap between these two, personally.
Right, and it's like me looking at Samaje going, like, is he going to be the same kind of efficient guy he was last year, which wasn't like super sexy or difference maker, but that's in a really, really good Bengals offense. Really good.
But in a lineup start 10, if he's my running back 2 or running back 3, like I'm happy. Like, it's fine. Do I think that's the best thing in the world? No, but could I start him or flip him someone? I think I could. Where Jaylen Warren, if Najee's killing it early this year, you ain't flipping him to anybody unless he gets hurt.
This comes down to like a Okonkwo for the second, and I have no idea what
that's the meat of the deal.
Be. I have no idea if he's betting against this guy, like if he thinks he's going to be horrible. Adam, I really don't know what a Okonkwo is worth. To me, I feel like it's more than a second. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to to put that into quantitative form. I feel like it's more than a second, man. Like, especially when we just saw this class and I'm getting like, Luke Musgrave. In the second, like, who do I want? Luke Musgrave or Chig Okonkwo? I'll take Okonkwo. Like, I feel like it's more than a second, but it's not a first.
Well,
is it 2 seconds? Like, 2 seconds feels too rich. Is it a second? No,
let me just say let me rephrase because I thought it was. It's actually no tight end premium.
Okay. All right. And no.
I had to go back and pull this up because I was starting to think about it, and I'm like, I don't think Koopa would have done this if it was any tight. It's no tight end premium.
Then screw it, man. Give me Perine in the second. He's not worth a first. He's not a difference maker. I like him, Adam. This is a weird way. This is like saying with all due respect and then following it up by copious amounts of disrespect. But I like him. But a non-tight end premium, like, there's like 50 dudes kind of just like him. You know what I mean? Like,
I think the thing with Chig and it's interesting. I made that short, Mike, which did pretty well on the tight ends and the rookies. And then that was before, Mike, that was more talking about like spiking in season when I did that, right? And then all of a sudden, we knew there was going to be some rookie hype around this class. We've talked about it at length. But then all of a sudden, you and I did not expect 3 of these rookies to be top 12 dynasty assets on Keep Trade Cut. Not even close. So the whole idea, though, is that I've got a lot of pushback about Chig and his ability with more staying power than some of these other guys. I kind of get it. I'll say this, like, I am still very worried about his snap percentages, right? So a guy that doesn't see, like, you look at the guys that are very elite, and I think this is another thing to keep in mind for everybody, right? When you look at the guys that are in the top 10 more solidified, not just this rookie age push and projection for somebody. You're going to see most of these guys are playing 70%, 80% of snaps a lot of the time or more. Like the ones that are legit. Mike, I don't know if you pulled it up. I'm afraid that I'll break our little stream here if I pull it up. But
I'll pull it right up.
I'm telling you right now, Chig, for the most part, seeing like 40 to 60% snaps. And I'm not saying that can't go up. I'm not saying he can't see more time on the field, but
even during his breakout, right? Like
that's what I'm saying, Mike.
Breaking out to the back half, right? The back half.
Right.
All right. So he's got 18 fantasy points. That's a good week. That's a really good week. Tight end 3 on the week, 50% snaps.
Yes.
Yikes, man. 13 fantasy points last week of the season. Tight end 7, 42% snaps. Like you're right, man. He didn't break 60 all year. The best he got was 56.
And there you go. And I remember that was kind of my thing with him. And now you're going to get, I already know, comments. By the way, like, subscribe, put it in the comments. Tell us we're wrong, by the way. I want to hear it. But I'll just address this before it comes out in the comments. You're well, if he's playing 46% of snaps, imagine when he gets 80. Okay, fine. But why is he not?
Because he's small.
Because he's not someone that can be relied upon as a blocker yet. That part is not. He's not
a prototypical size tight end. He's a move tight end.
Correct.
That they're also worried about. Right, they're going to bring other guys in when they want to run off right tackle. All right, and if you want to run off right tackle, right, and have Chig be the primary blocker, he doesn't have that ability yet. I'm not saying he can't be.
He could develop. Correct.
You want to bring another guy in to do it, but then Adam, what the problem becomes is like if anybody who follows football, this is just logic, right? You show him off tackle to the right side with Chig being the blocker, or with the tight end they brought in to be Chig to be the blocker. You're going to come back and give him that same look, but it's going to be play action with the seam route to the tight end on the next play, right? And then who's not going to be on the field? Because if you put him on the field, people go, they ain't running. That is the biggest thing, and people don't quite probably understand that is when you put Chig on the field, right? You're already admitting you don't want to have him block. So you're already leaning to the defense that you are probably throwing. Now, when he's breaking out in his rookie season, people aren't really crazily tuned into that. You might be able to get over on some of that. Now, next year, if you say he's our tight end 1 and we're projecting this guy to be a dog, guess what's going to happen? They're paying a lot of attention to 85, and they're saying, where's he at? He's not on the field? Okay, maybe now we're going to be running the football. And guess what coaches hate to do? They hate to show you their hand. They do not like to do that. You're probably going to sit here and say, Adam hates Chig. I mean, this guy, he hates Chig. That's not what I'm telling you. What I'm trying to explain to you is he is to the point where he's overpriced in Dynasty. And I'll say this. If you believe in Chig and you think he's a great move, tight end that has a lot of traits that could be successful in Dynasty, I'm not going to fight you. But for me, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to get off the train at a spot where it's probably close to peak. Now, could he go higher? Sure. But what does that really look like? You got to ask yourself these questions when you're really thinking about stuff in Dynasty. What does it look like? If you don't get off the station right now, what does it look like? Where are you going to go? How many stops do you have until they charge you more? Until you realize you actually went backwards? Like, I'm just telling you, for me, I'm okay cashing out on my Chig shares at a profit and understanding that if it goes crazy to the moon, I'll be wrong and I will miss. And when we get to no tight end premium like this, Mike, I'll off him for a second because guess what's going to happen in 24? Brock Bowers is going to go early. Somebody in the second is going to be a tight end I could at minimum shoot my shot on that's going to have Chig-esque that I can re-roll and redo this thing over and over and over again. Not to mention you can end up getting a legit player or leverage the pick to something different. Like what if that guy is like Jatavian Sanders that you're getting in the second?
Whew.
Right?
Y'all thought Chig was a nice move tight end. Wait till you see this guy.
Like a size speed freak who's produced at the college level. Like what if that's the second round pick? Like I'm comfortable with that pivot. Adam, I will say this to put a bow on it. In non-tight end premium, I want Koopa's side. In tight end premium, it feels too light. It just does.
I agree. I do agree with you.
A little bit more.
I do agree with you, and I also think I'm with you. I will get off the train. But this in tight end premium would not be enough. So I also know that speaking of South Harmon, FF.com, Koopa put the warp in and saw that the tight ends don't give you enough warp in non-tight end premium unless they're elite, and he's off of Chig. So enough of that one. Koopa, we gave you a little shout out, but just know next one we're going to grade a little more fairly. All right.
It's not going to be on a curve.
Yeah. All right. Mighty Booch talked a little bit about this deal with him in DMs. He kind of gave me some extra stuff that was a deal that happened later, but Mike, kind of curious your thoughts here, man. Like, I picked some out that stood out to me. Like the Chig one stood out to me in the prior one because it felt light, but then you realize there's no tight end premium. This one here, okay. Brian Robinson, like he had a nice little year, got a bunch of usage. It was okay. Like I think it was actually not as good as people want to realize or tell themselves it was, but like I don't completely hate the guy like Mike does, but I'm not really interested. So, but you got Jahan Dotson, who you and I like, but lineup start 10, Mike. Like I'm comfortable getting off of Jahan Dotson in a lot of these leagues. A 24 second and 24 third swap. Like even if it's 201 and 312 locked in, which we don't even know that's the case. But like that's the worst case this could be. For Breece Hall? What am I missing? What am I missing? Other than Mighty Booch basically told you, like, I have to save this person's soul by blocking all the picks and his name out because I'm actually speechless on the trade show. I don't know what to say about this. This is criminal activity. This is ridiculous, bro. There's not even a first round. Mike, if you told me there was a first on the other side, like, I'm still probably taking Breece here.
It's exactly. Drop the third and you change the 24 second to a first. I still go, man
I might take Breece here.
I'm not even saying might. I'm going like, man, got a deal for Breece.
I mean, like, because you're shifting to the assets you want in the lineup start.
Yes.
I'm not even going to try to keep – I don't have any words. I'm on vacation. I don't need to get worked up.
Mike,
I'm going to let you take it off, man, because I got nothing to add to this. This is ridiculous stuff, man. I don't like Jahan Dotson. If this is what Jahan Dotson costs, I hate Jahan Dotson.
I was going to say I like Jahan Dotson, but I didn't know he was nice like this. I didn't know he carried that much weight.
What?
This is something, man. This is something.
Jahan Dotson is so in a lineup start 10. Let me just say this. In a best ball league, I'm so much different with him than I am in a lineup start 10-12 team. Like, I just want to make sure everybody understands this, right? Because he is very much bordering on, I'm not going to call it threshold, but value-wise, and what I'm going to put into my lineup, like, I'm not really as interested. Like, I have him in plenty of those leagues, but I'm not buying at all in those leagues. Breece Hall in these leagues, I'm comfortably buying and happy to get if I can for this. Like, Mike, you would love to rearrange borderline receivers, whatever you want to call Brian Robinson, a plotter plus, I don't know, a guy that's going to get a bunch of work in a second for a guy that's Breece Hall's ability and tradability-wise. Like, forget whatever. Like, you can move Breece Hall for two pieces so much better than B-Rob and Jahan Dotson if you decide to get out of the Breece Hall business. Like, this is just – there's no losing on Mighty Booch's side, in my personal opinion. There's no losing here.
Our injury guy at Destination Devy, Jeff, has been pounding the table for Breece Hall, and he's been pounding the table from a redraft standpoint based on Underdog ADP. So shout out to Underdog on there. When he's going at like RB10, Jeff is going, man, you guys are getting a massive discount. Now, in Dynasty, you don't necessarily have that because people go, it ain't redraft, it's Dynasty. I have Breece Hall for multiple years. He's RB3. So there's a big difference between the two right there. And I'm going, you just got the Dynasty RB3 for a almost threshold receiver. Almost.
Right.
Maybe
almost.
He is. A plotter and a second and a third swap. Like, smash this one out of the park. Mighty Booch killed this.
Yeah, it's just honestly, it's kind of nauseating. Like, I hope this isn't indicative of like a bunch of people out there. Like I hope there's not really Breece panic because this is stupid if that's the case. I really hope there's not.
We should probably start exploring our leagues, shouldn't we?
I think I'm going to go shopping. I'm probably going to just get auto rejected everywhere because it's just not going to happen. But I'll even shoot higher than this. But I will be very interested in Breece Hall if this is the case. So, all right, let's get into another one. 12-team Superflex, half PPR, lineup start 11. Speaking of the new patron, I'm out here messing this all up. New patron is acquiring Justin Jefferson and James Cook, Mike. Sending away Tyler Lockett, Breece Hall again. Breece Hall might need to be a thumbnail. It's very possible. Sam Howell and a 24 first. Big deal. Big deal, Mike. I'm going to let you start it off. I have a lot of thoughts about this one, so I'm curious your thoughts here. Just so everyone's clear on the settings. 12-team Superflex, half PPR, lineup start 11. Go ahead, Mike. What are your thoughts?
In start 11, right, this is what I'm looking at. In start 11, even though it's half PPR and we usually favor running backs a little bit more, Breece Hall would move up some and Justin Jefferson would move down a little bit, but it's still Justin Jefferson, man. So if I take like how
Jefferson over Breece Hall, easy still in this format.
Right. If I take the James Cook and let's say Tyler Lockett and I cancel those two out, Jefferson for Breece Hall, Sam Howell in the first.
Jefferson for Breece Hall, Sam Howell in the first.
Howell.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
It feels a little expensive. Like Breece Hall in the first.
Does it though?
Breece Hall in the first feels like it should be, but people hate running backs, man. They hate them so bad. We just glowingly about Breece Hall, but people do hate running backs. So I guess
I don't actually think that's that expensive, just because of the fact of like Jefferson for a lot of people. Now, not in half PPR necessarily, but in full PPR, they basically say like pick 6 quarterbacks and then I want him.
And some people only have like 4 quarterbacks. You know what I mean?
Now, in half PPR, he probably gets pushed down, but he's still a first-round pick. Like,
right? Yeah.
A random 24 and Breece is probably a little bit. I'll be honest. People buying probably are saying, "I'm sending you quite a bit of an offer," and I bet you people selling for the most part are gonna be like, "Huh? Yeah. Do you know who this is?" Speaking of warp, do you know who? Even in half PPR, Justin Jefferson was a warp monster, and he's young.
This is me trying to be nice and say like,
that's fair.
Okay.
I know. I like when Mike's trying to be nice and I'm being the dick. I do like that. It's very rare.
I want the Justin Jefferson side.
by far. Like, because I think about this in a lot of different ways, right? But the only way I would give any type of push to the other side is if you're saying this team is doo-doo butter. Like, it's so trash, but I'll give him Jefferson thinking like this is going to save his team and he really likes this guy.
Right. And
that's
I'm
the only way.
Into Drake May, Caleb Williams,
right? And I'm taking away Sam Howell, right? And I'm taking away Sam Howell, which doesn't look like much on paper, but this guy already has 2 questionable quarterbacks, and Sam Howell is basically like giving him no outs if these 2 don't perform. That's the only way I can see it, man. Personally, because if you tell me this is late or mid or late, there's no way. Because I already know in a league like this where it's lineup, forget half PPR, you can almost just remove that because it's not that big of a deal when we're talking positional advantage at receiver and youth. Like the positional advantage guys that are old, they didn't even give you what Jefferson did, and they're old. Like, understand Jefferson is the warp one, and he's not just the positional advantage, but he's young. So people don't trade this guy unless they're getting something back that's typically ridiculous as far as future first netting, like 3 picks plus. Like Breece Hall I like still. Definitely worth more than a single first. But Sam Howell in this deal is like total clouding. Like I don't care about him in this league, right? Like that's where, to me, if this 24 is late, like you stole this, man. Because James Cook coming back is. There are people that would argue that James Cook, and probably not wrongly, in Dynasty is worth more than Sam Howell and Tyler Lockett. So now all of a sudden it's like Breece Hall and the 24 first are the next most valuable pieces in the deal, but then James Cook and then Tyler Lockett and then Sam Howell. It's like Tyler Lockett doesn't mean enough in a lineup start 11, especially half PPR, to make me go, okay, like, yeah, this is going to push it over the top, or Sam Howell. Justin Jefferson's too damn valuable, man. Too damn valuable.
I get you. JJ all day.
All right, so here we go, man. Righteous Bra recently upgraded to the Savage tier. Mike, I think since we got the merch tiers going, we have a couple extra spots or one extra spot or something. If you do want to join the Savage tier, I promise you worth every bit of your penny. We have the Savage semester Mike's going to run this week. We have you get to ask ridiculous questions that we have to answer all the time. It's T-Rock. You know what, man? Let me just shout this out for the Savage since we're doing it. T-Rock, like, he watched AMA, an hour ago, and he's like, you know what, Adam's drinking, he's on vacation. Let me send him a deal in one of these leagues and just see if I can get something stupid over on him. T-Rock, do you know what you're trying to do? Stop it. Anyway.
You saw the White Claws.
Yeah, man, come on, man. Sheesh. I don't even know what to say to T-Rock anymore. Righteous Bra is getting Kadarius Toney in the 24 first, Mike. He's sending away Jaxon Smith-Njigba. When you look at this deal first, I think a lot of people are going to kind of pause. Let me just read the settings and then kind of go through it. It's a 10-team Superflex PPR lineup start 11 league. Now, you think about this, right? And you're like, wait a minute. Jaxon Smith-Njigba is worth more than a first by himself. And then Kadarius Toney doesn't really make up the ground, and we're starting 11 in the lineup league. Why in the world would I – wait now. You got to take a peek at the details. See, just like in trades, we have to talk about the details of the trades. You got to talk about the leagues, the settings. There's no name attached to this, which means Righteous Bra is receiving his own 24 first pick back. Now, Jaxon Smith-Njigba has the Chris Olave, the Garrett Wilson upside out there, which makes them closer to an early first, truth be told, right? But if you can control your pick and you have an ability to make it Caleb Williams or Marvin Harrison Jr. at worst, you basically here, right? You're getting your first back, and now on this trade, like, let's say this ended up being Marvin Harrison Jr., Mike. I think, to be completely honest with you, there's a better chance that Marvin Harrison Jr. is valued higher than Jaxon Smith-Njigba this time next year, outside of injuries to either party, right?
Right. I'm with you.
So here's the thing. You already probably win the trade. Forget Kadarius Toney for a second. We can talk the young joke at another time. But I just want to make sure people understand, even on that surface, that's one trade. But understand, if you're going to rebuilding, like if you want to go rebuild, I just want to make sure everybody gets this. When you want to go rebuild, a lot of times you have to take a loss to do this, because if you need your pick back, this is the loss so you can win the other trades. If you still win this trade to get your pick back, you're going to win the other ones during the year when everyone's overpaying for points in their lineup. Like, if you end up getting your future first back and it still could be a win, that's the ultimate win in and of itself. When someone has your own first and that's keeping you from rebuilding, that's one of the worst things in Dynasty. Mike basically will force you for 2 years to live in agony. He won't let you buy it back. There's no price. There is no price on the pick. He's going to make you watch and burn. Like, this is, to me, a deal that probably for most is going to be like, why would I not take this deal? But I think this was a great trade for him, even though that Jaxon Smith-Njigba could end up being more than even if his first and the Kadarius Toney side. I think when you make this type of a deal, it's more about the principle and what you're doing than it is about necessarily the initial deal. But the fact that you, I think, still could win this deal on paper is ridiculous. All right.
I'm going to go on a little tangent here.
Let's hear it.
Follow me.
Little tangent. I was on a big one, so if you're going on a little, I'm curious.
CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, and I'm going to say Garrett Wilson. Would you rather have those guys at wide receiver, or would you rather have the 102 in this class? 2023.
CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, who was the other ones?
Garrett Wilson, because of the Aaron Rodgers bump. That
all right, so they're all the same. Got it.
Would you rather have those wide receivers, or would you rather have the 102 in this class?
In this league, 10-team, I'd take the receivers. 12-team, I'll take the 102.
Okay. How close is it?
12-team?
In a 10-team league. His settings right here.
10-team.
Well, let's say it's your guy, man. It's Anthony Richardson. For a lot of leagues, that's going to be the guy.
I'll say in 10 team, I don't think I would do it as much just because I don't think the leverage plays as much. So to me, I'd be looking more at Gibbs, and I probably wouldn't do that for those 3 receivers. I would say in 10 team, I wouldn't be as apt. It's still close though. Like even remove all that, it's still very close to the point that you're making. But I think I'd probably lean the receiver there.
Well, let's say it's a Rich, right? Let's say it's a Rich.
Okay.
All right, it's close,
right?
Close-ish. You're leaning receivers.
Yep.
Now I got to tell you right now, it's Anthony Richardson or Drake May or Caleb Williams.
Ooh.
You rather have the 24 quarterbacks, or would you rather have Anthony Richardson?
Rich.
Like, okay, all right. But is it a conversation?
Oh,
right?
it's
like there's gonna be a ton
people have already looked at me funny when I said Rich.
Okay. There's going to be a ton of people on the other
1,000%.
side. Like,
1,000%.
I would take Caleb Williams in a heartbeat. I will take Drake May in a heartbeat over Anthony Richardson because they're not projects. They're not project quarterbacks. Right. We think they're going to step right in. And Adam, there's probably a realistic scenario unless Anthony Richardson like smashes and has a really good year or has some like big moments. Mm-hmm. Like when we get to next year, if Drake May and Caleb Williams are everything that we thought they were, there's no injuries or fall off in play this year. Those guys are coming in, walking into the league valued more than Anthony Richardson.
Yes. Well,
right.
I think it all depends on what Rich does, right?
Right.
Because those guys, well, Caleb especially, I think it's so unlikely unless he has a Tua type thing where he gets hurt significantly,
right?
Where he has a big value drop. Like he is for people already this asset that you just can't touch. Even if it's just 101 and 24, like people won't trade it, period. Like people just don't trade that, which that basically speaks to how bullish they are on this prospect relative to the last 5 years. So I'm with you on that point.
The big point is, too, like you touched on the first part. That's not even touching on Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay, that's not touching on him at all. Who's going to be in this conversation for a while. And to your point, I would be willing to bet he walks into the league more valuable than Jaxon Smith-Njigba, regardless really what of JSN does this year. Regardless, unless the only outcome where Righteous Bro just flat out loses this, if JSN comes out and he has a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson type rookie year.
What if he has – because let's say this. He's going to Seattle, right? So it's not going to be as dumpster fire very likely as like – New Orleans was last year, right? With Andy Dalton throwing the football all the time. It's not going to be Joe Flacco types, Mike White type stuff, as much as we talked up Zach Wilson at points. That's just RIP. It's not likely to be that bad. But there's also more mouths to feed in this offense. Charbonnet's there, right? DK's there. Tyler Lockett's not going anywhere that we know of. Noah Fant's there. They want to utilize 3 tight ends still. So my point here is that if he has a Chris Olave type season or a Garrett Wilson type season, does that move the needle for him even to where they are in Dynasty right now, which is both like top 6, 7? Like, I don't know that there's a guarantee to that point at necessarily even as well, unless he's basically north of 1,000, 1,100 yards type thing, right?
He's got to be JJ or Chase out the gates.
Well, but the only thing is if he's those guys where he breaks records, he's going to be Dynasty wide receiver 3. He's going to pass CD Lamb. He is going to solidify himself as just behind JJ and Chase. Now, if that's the case, Mike, I will say this: there's nothing that this other side can do to pass that.
Correct. But you're talking about
that's also a razor thin margin. Correct.
0.05% chance. If he just has a good year. Right, Righteous Brow wins this trade. If he just has a good year, he has to have an elite year.
Correct.
Elite year. And that's not a gamble I want to make. Not saying it's not possible, Adam, because we've seen it. But it's not a bet I'm willing to make. My first, that's probably going to be top 3, or banking on a guy having a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. If he is Chris Olave, if he is Garrett Wilson, Righteous Brow won this trade.
Well, I think the final point though to make that
is on the upper echelon. That's like
I'm with you, and I think the final point to make this hit home though is that if you tell me that Jaxon Smith-Njigba See, because here's the thing. If this isn't your 24 first, even if this is what you think is a top 4 pick, right? Top 5 pick. The difference, though, is in season, Jaxon Smith-Njigba has serious value spike potential.
Correct.
And you could trade out for more, right? So even if this is a what you think is an earlier pick, I could create a scenario where it's like, but Jaxon Smith-Njigba might move for 2 first to somebody else somewhere else, right? Like you could make the case. The fact though here is that what you're buying back is not just your flexibility, but the ability to completely redo your team and have everything the way you want it to, and it's not on someone else's terms. That right there is worth so much more than what a lot of people want to put into a trade, which is why for me I'm comfortable here. Even though if you look at this trade and you say Jaxon Smith-Njigba for a random 24 and Kadarius Toney, you're crazy. Based on what's happening here in this trade, I want what Righteous Bride did. So I like the trade. All right, so let's get into another one here. All right, Burrito Slayer and Pastime. So, Mike, we're looking at some gross quarterbacks. Your favorite, Mike White. Tua Tagovailoa, your actual favorite. Rhamondre, a 24 second, a 24 first, and a 25 third. Those last 2 picks coming from Burrito Slayer. Burrito Slayer is acquiring Danny Dimes, DeAndre Swift, and Jonathan Taylor. Now, Mike, here's the thing. Lineup league. So it's 12-team, Superflex. Half point for first downs, start 11. What do you think of this deal?
Okay, I'm going to start off with Danny Dimes and Tua. Now, me personally, I will take Tua. Mm-hmm. Me personally, I will take Tua.
Right.
But for a lot of people, this is neck and neck. This is close as shit. And some people probably prefer Danny Dimes. So we will just call them even. You can cancel them out, get rid of them out of the trade. So when I look at it and I go, Rhamondre in a first for Jonathan Taylor, my first, mm-hmm. with what I'm purchasing, Rhamondre in a first for Jonathan Taylor, give me the JT side all day of the week. I'll even send you my second if you like, or whoever the hell Bernardo 18th second. Cool.
Let's just for a second stick with Rhamondre in the 24 first, just for the sake of the discussion.
Because the rest of it, when I look, okay, I'm going to buy DeAndre Swift for a second, a third, and Mike White. By all means, I will buy back into DeAndre Swift. No question about it. See ya out the gates, done. Mike White means absolutely nothing to me in this deal. This is just whatever fluff piece you need to get you over the finish line. But I kicked your ass at the Jonathan Taylor part, and I definitely kicked your ass at the DeAndre Swift part. So if you'd like a Mike White, by all means, buddy, here, have a Mike White.
Listen, let me just say what DeAndre Swift is for me and the way I would like equate it to real life scenarios, right? So I'm on the road on vacation and I'm streaming, and when I do that, of course, I gotta have bourbon. So I get naturally the bourbon that's at the bar as much as they'll give it to me, and they're gone, right? And DeAndre Swift was that for me. Like he was the bourbon, he was my drink of choice. I was excited, I was all in. But then you realize, man, like it's all gone, and shoot, that wasn't even worth the money I spent on it.
Oh, no.
And I can't get any more. DeAndre Swift's done, and I have too much of it. So guess what I have to do? Like, if you tell me now I can buy him really cheap, and I just have to get alcohol, period. So you know, there's no bourbon. The bar's closed, so I got to go get White Claws, and that is what DeAndre Swift is to me now. If you give it to me for this, like I could go over to the house and get it out of the fridge and that's all I got left, yeah. For a second and 24 and a third and 25 and Mike White, come on, man. I don't care what the settings are. Mike White, I don't care if we're starting 50. If it's 12 teams, it's 50 teams. I don't care what the quarterback scarcity is. Mike White doesn't matter. This is DeAndre Swift. This is Jonathan Taylor. This is Daniel Jones. Like, I don't really see a lot of scenarios where the other side wins personally, Mike, other than Tua, for us, I think is somebody that could end up being back if he stays healthy higher than anyone in the deal. Like, that would be one piece. And the other piece would be if Burrito Slayer really made a mess of or has a bunch of injuries to his team and that 24 first becomes more early. Outside of those two scenarios, Mike, I just don't see it for Pastime. And I think right now, like, we could be looking at a team that is past time. Like he really passed his time with the dynasty value he got back.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see like what happens with Tua, because you are right. Like there is a scenario, we can't see it now. Like people are always worried about the injuries, and like that's going to hang over for him a while. But if he comes out and he plays all 17 games and he throws for 4,500 yards and keeps up like the pace he was when he was playing really well, a lot of that shit will get buried. A lot of it will be buried.
It will take a long time. It will take a long time. But if we talk about 3/4 of the way through the season, and he's just doing nothing but playing well and staying healthy, we're having people that have to start moving their mindset in Dynasty. And I tell you right now, I know a lot of people, even sharp Dynasty minds, and this is nothing personal against them, but I'm just using this as an example. People are very out on Tua. I know people that are very smart in Dynasty that just don't want any part of him. So I think that's why, at least he is one of the pieces in the deal that has significant value to gain north, but he's got to stay healthy and play well.
Right. He's one of those guys, too. Like, he's coming out and he's putting up multiple top 5 quarterback finishes, which he did last year. But I'm not even saying, like, he's doing it healthy, Adam. He's out there. We're talking he's got 8, 9, 10 top 5 finishes at the quarterback position.
Right.
A lot of that shit will get buried. Like, a lot of how we feel about him now, they'll be like, we're just going to acknowledge the fact he's really good at playing football and playing quarterback in the NFL. But the way it stands right now, I do understand that there's the whole – I'd rather just have Danny Dimes, or I'd rather have this guy, or I'm worried about
Danny Dimes has a contract. Tua could be done playing football in one hit. That's what people tell themselves, and there's truth to that too, though. The 24 first though part, Mike, does that, like, if you're built incorrectly in a lineup league, that's the only other piece here where I think there's value ascension to be had on pastime side. Otherwise, like, this is stupid. This is a stupid deal, personally.
Even if this wasn't mine, like, say I'm holding somebody else's 24 first. And I'm like, this team is a non-playoff team. Like, there's a possibility.
You're comfortable sending it?
For Jonathan Taylor, man, like, to make that bet, to make the contender push.
Mike, I'm just asking the question. I'm just asking the question.
You're learning too much from Ray. Right? You need to stop.
I'm sorry, but I have to when I have the chance, especially after the draft stream. I'm just asking the question. So anyway. There that is. That's our breakdown. If you want pastime side, let us know in the comments. I'm on vacation. The least you could do is tell me, you're an idiot with the trade. You should have just stayed on vacation and not done a trade show.
I think it's going to be hard because you put a hated quarterback on that side.
That's the big thing is Tua's not very liked. Okay, Mike, speaking of Chris Olave, kind of curious your thoughts here because this is best ball. I feel like this is one that everyone's going to look at and give you a face. Like, there's a lot of kids on this trip, right?
Yes.
A lot of young kids, and they don't have the ability to really lie. All they do is they tell you what the reality is, right? And you're going to get a lot of stink faces, a lot of this is stupid, this is that. I feel like a lot of people in the comments and that watch this are going to be like, why would you ever trade away Chris Olave for this package? Because of the way the lineup mindset is, right? And
correct.
I'm curious if we break this down in best ball now, Mike, because Chris Olave's dope. And I think there's a scenario where, like, last year he was, wide receiver 25-ish. I think that can come significantly higher. Like, I'm in on Olave even though I was out last year. I'll fight Mike to death on Garrett Wilson, but on Chris Olave as a value, I'm in on Chris Olave. Okay, Zay Flowers already for me in best ball is somebody I'm more willing to go Jon Snow on than most. Like, best ball especially, like, I want a lot of Zay Flowers shares, and I'm happy that he's going later in a lot of these. 224 seconds, and I'm not a big Diontae guy anymore. I used to be, but, man, 224 seconds, one of which is your own back, which I don't know how that factors into the deal, plus Zay Flowers and Diontae, Mike. This one is it's 4 pieces for one. Talk to me.
There's only a handful of wide receivers in the entire league, in best ball leagues, that I wouldn't make this trade, right? So you can replace the Chris Olave. We can take my Chris Olave love out of it. Adam, you change this to Garrett Wilson. You change this to A.J. Brown. You change this to...
Ooh, A.J. Brown, still the same thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In best ball...
So is the only ones that are not there going to be Chase, Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb?
Chase and Jefferson. I think even for CeeDee Lamb, I'm looking at this pretty hard. Like, I'm going to try to tax you. You know what I mean? Like, I think I can tax you a little bit more, but you're giving me 4 legit.
Let me let you walk through the future of this before I go into my thing. Go ahead.
You're giving me 4 wide receivers for my one. 4. And these guys are all going to have above average weeks. They're going to have some spike weeks here and there. Like, I'm not even looking at the seconds going like, oh, they're future picks, so they could be this. I'm thinking about like, what
can I buy? Well, that was what I was just going to ask you. So what
could I buy with
what does that look like? Let's walk through it. Because that's what on a contender in best ball, Mike. Which I think the one thing we both kind of learned in best ball, there's really no reason, unless you're just going to do it out of the gates and just completely nuke it, to just go full rebuild. You can basically always stay somewhat relevant in best ball when you build the right way. So what do these seconds look like if we trade into players for a second? Just to give more context, because that's what we're going to try to do is move these seconds into players.
You get a Cortland Sutton for a second.
Why? See, this is why we do a show together and why it's also weird when that was the first person I thought of was Cortland Sutton. Wow. Okay. What else? Give us some other ones.
You get a Tyler Lockett for a second.
You definitely probably can get a Tyler Lockett, especially with Jaxon Smith-Njigba going over there. I think that's a pretty good. That's a savvy one.
Here's a good one.
Okay.
And this is a guy I like. You can get a Jacoby Myers for a second.
Well, you definitely can. Because I remember in Royal Rumble with Ray, like we made a deal where Jaden Reed and I, he swapped Jaden Reed and Jacoby Myers. We swapped those together, and Jaden Reed was a second round pick in this class, and sometimes he's going more mid to late second. But I drafted Jaden Reed. I like him quite a bit. Point is, I think you can get Myers for a second pretty much everywhere. There's no one's ever going to require a first for Myers. They're just high.
No. There is a ton of these wide receivers that you can get for a second, and some will get grosser.
Let me give you one. Let me give you one here real quick because you were talking about 4. No, before we get to the gross one, I was going to ask because I think what a lot of people will let you do is send 2 seconds in a league like this for a Terry McLaurin.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I think that's where I'd rather go 3. I'd rather go get 3 Diontae, Zay Flowers, and a Terry. I'll take that 100 times out of 100 for Chris Olave and best ball, Mike.
I'm with you. Some of these other wide receivers out there that produce.
If you want to go more crusty to the 24, I'm interested to hear that too. By the way,
Tyler Boyd for a second. That's an easy one, right?
Tyler Boyd is one of the easiest best ball buys. Now, I think Tyler Boyd though is a perfect example of what I will buy in best ball and what I will not touch in lineup.
There you go. Adam Thielen. As much as like somebody was out there fighting me about,
dude, I'm not paying a second for Adam Thielen. I like him, but I'll buy him.
But talk about crusty. Can you get Adam Thielen for a second?
My goodness, yes.
A resounding 100%.
Every single time you can. Mike's not advocating for this. I want to be on record now that we have a brand, we have a standard to uphold. We're not advocating. Mike's not advocating to send a second for Adam Thielen. I just want to make sure that's in the fine print.
That is. You could also get his teammate, DJ Chark, for a second, easily. You could get a Rondale Moore if you want to pair up the midget squad with Zay Flowers. Boom. Now you got the midget squad. So.
I mean, well, let me ask you this, though. Is there another receiver like Terry McLaurin that you think you could send the 2 seconds for where you'd be okay getting the 3 for 1?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes the 4 for 1 is a little too much because you're going so far down for people that want to see what it looks like higher
2
up.
seconds for D-Hop because he's old.
Oh, my goodness. I'm in.
Right?
I think what's nice about that is you get to have your cake and eat it too, right? You get to watch Zay Flowers develop, but you get the chance of Hop beating Olave still in points per game.
Listen, I think this guy is valued higher or should be valued higher than 2 seconds, but Amari Cooper is still easily attainable for a lot of people.
I think Amari Cooper is one of those where it's like, I'll send a first. I think some people will take a first. I don't know if 2 seconds gets it done, but I'm with you. And I think if this is Amari Cooper, Zay Flowers, and Diontae, forget about it, man.
Well, throw one of those Jacksonville wide receivers in there too. Like pay 2 seconds
Christian
for
Kirk
or Calvin Ridley.
Especially in best ball, Christian Kirk is a big buy for me. And I understand there's reason for concern. Ridley's coming there. We don't know what the offense looks like moving forward, but like Kirk was great last year, actually, even in lineup. But in best ball, I cannot advocate enough for buying Kirk at market in best ball. In lineup, I'll pause a little more.
And that is just talking wide receivers, man. He doesn't have to buy wide receivers with these seconds. He could buy a tight end. He could buy a running back.
Well, he can't buy the rookies of this year. He could have bought them if these are 23s, but now that's way off the table.
Also, think about it in best ball. It's a super flex league, man. How many of these like crusty quarterbacks are you going to get like maybe 4 or 5 above average weeks from that are very valuable in a best ball?
You know what you
can get for a couple seconds.
You know what Koopa's going to hate to hear?
Ooh.
You know what Koopa's going to hate to hear is that you could probably use these 24 seconds and possibly dangle and get in front of a Geno Smith owner.
There it is. He's worth more than that. No, but I get the point.
Point is, this liquidity, even though it's seconds, in best ball goes a lot further because now in lineup they're still valuable too. I'm not trying to downplay that, but in best ball, these seconds are things that speak to a lot of people in best ball.
In a lineup start 10, how hard do you laugh at the guy who sent you this?
Oh well, this is a perfect example of best ball and lineup differences. Lineup start anything less than like lineup start 12 and down. Like I want Olave still personally. Like it's just he's too valuable. Lineup start 13 and higher. I might even consider here. I'll say this. I still feel it still feels light, but it's more to the point of I know that depth matters there. I'm not even going to take this deal on the face, but I might counter back and say I'll take a 4 for 1 if you can make it a little more juicy pieces, right? Yeah. Right. Now in best ball, I know if I see, because here's the thing about this, right? You look at this deal, you say I still don't believe you, whatever, whether you've played or haven't played. You make 2-3 of these deals in best ball, like you deepen your roster so much and you give yourself so much more ability to come back to the table and buy more. You don't have to make a bunch of these deals, but if you make 3-4 of these deals, man, your roster will look so different. And that's the biggest thing for me is this isn't just a one-time thing when you play best ball. I'm going to do this a couple times.
That is the favorite thing about best ball, right? When you do these deals. So like sleeper, for those of you who play on a lot of sleeper leagues like we do, right? They just came out with their projections. And Adam, how many of your good best ball teams do you look at? They have their projections, but because your studs are lacking, because you're built for depth, it's like every one of these leagues that says I'm going to get my ass beat week 1. And
well, fantasy pros would probably tell me my team is trash in a best ball league. It's just trash. Fantasy pros would tell me your team is 6th to 7th round, 6th to 7th seed if everything goes right. And okay, there it is. There you have it.
Oh man, best ball. This is a smash. Great deal, Lubert. Love it.
I do think the interesting part, though, I'll say this. This is probably the most you could get, but I also know that there are leagues where you could have asked for probably one of these pieces to go north still. That's right. the only pushback I'll give to Liebert's side. I'm making this trade. My only point to him would be like, did you explore pushing it up just a little further because Chris Olave is so much more valuable than everyone else in this deal? Right. If you did, more power to you. That's my only point here would be maybe you could have asked for another little plus or just moved a second. Like some people would rather have a 24 first than 2 seconds here in this. Maybe you could have gotten that done. So things like that would be something to keep in mind. But I think overall in best ball, we're taking Liebert's side here. Mike, and I think that's it, man. I think that is the trade show in the books. So
we ended on the Canadian Liebert. He's gonna be so happy. So happy.
It was a good one to walk through too.
-20 up there, right? We can warm him up. It's May, but it's still like -40 wherever he lives in Canada.
Man, I'll be honest. The alternate jersey here, the pinstripes of these lights are just wild to me.
Listen, the people need to appreciate you that you're on vacation. You're like, I'm gonna make this work. The trade show's happening. The AMA's happening. We're not missing it. You don't have to go find a guest, Mike. I mean, you're a real one. You're a real one, buddy. And I couldn't be happier to also launch our website this week with you. All the work that you put in, all the work that Koopa put in. Koopa is now officially a part of South Harmon. This is a guy who joined the
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
This is a guy who joined the Patreon. We never asked him to do anything. Right, we never.
Not a once, man.
I was never once been like trying to groom somebody to bring on the team, and he worked his way up. He was like, "Hey, I developed this. What do you guys think about this? This is a pretty cool tool. You guys got me thinking about this idea." And here we are, man. Koopa's helping build a website. He's built an awesome warp calculator. So I'm really proud to be in a position, Adam, that we are to be able to bring somebody else on board with us. Kind of feels like forever ago when we started with Ray, and he kind of did the same thing, like, hey, your podcast is pretty good. I've been listening to it. I'm like, get the hell out of here, man. Ain't nobody listening to our shit on Patreon. All 15 subs we had or whatever it was, and it's like my grandma, my brother.
Literal shit. No one's listening to our shit.
Literal. Right? So welcome Koopa to the team, man. If you're out there, give him a shout out, give him a follow on Twitter. Obviously come and see his brainchild, his baby. The warp calculator is fantastic. I don't know how many times I've used it. I'm just using it right here to try to justify my Kyle Pitts trade. So it's been incredible. And Adam, man, to be on this journey with you and to see you on vacation with the pinstripe lighting in the hotel, on the laptop, drinking White Claws.
Listen, man, I want to make sure. Yeah, let me see if I can get everybody to. There was a wedding in here yesterday. So somebody cleared this room out to get married. Right? We're in here with the scraps, man. We're coming in. We're giving you the trade show. We're never going to let the trade show not happen. I just want to make sure people understand that. There's no way in the world. You can tell me that our trades are terrible. You can tell me all the best ball principles are wrong. We're going to be here every single Saturday. Unfortunately, we will not be here Wednesday. I can't give you that. But 2 times a week is coming once I get back home. I'll say this, Mike. The journey's been interesting. It's been wild. But Koopa's well-deserved to the team. Koopa's warp calculator is crazy. Think about this, right? We talked a lot about warp this season. I know Scott really started the forefront of talking about it at length for me as far as consuming it. I've heard of it before. I've looked at the numbers, but when Scott talked about it, it really started making me think, as does everything he says. It makes me think. And I may not agree with Scott every time, but I at least have to really think. And as that was happening, right, Koopa picked up on it and started getting really good at developing a system to get warp information to everybody. And all the South Harmon people that are patrons, patreon.com/South Harmon, were able to see the warp charts he put together. Now on our website, if you go there, you can get all the charts that he would put in a Google Drive that you had to go and click on and find and figure out your different leagues. At a click of a button, you literally can type in your name and you'll watch it auto-populate the leagues you have in Sleeper. That's crazy enough. As you're typing names in, you can see the leagues they have halfway through yours. Then you get to yours, you can pick out all the leagues you have, and there's going to be a lot. When we talk through this trade show, I just want to make sure that's the big thing about this warp calculator. We talk about, with Koopa, that league that was actually not a tight end premium and how that shifts the way that trade looks, right? We talk about a lot of different trades on here and how the different settings, the way we're starting 10, we're starting 12, we're starting 14, lineup or best ball, the settings involved, if it's a heavy tight end premium, these all shift the values of players. Now imagine you had a tool that would tell you live time what the warp is on every single different one of your leagues. Because if you play in a portfolio, I think this is the big thing. You're going to play in a portfolio and you're going to look and you're going to see trades come through in these different leagues, and you may not think top of mind how different the settings are. You're not going to maybe go and rigorously look through the scoring settings and say, okay, well, this one, you're going to probably think about your portfolio, your shares, and maybe you want to make a trade. You can just type in this warp calculator. Boom. What does it look like last year? What did it look like the year prior? With the click of a button, you can see this and say, you know what, man, maybe I don't actually want to trade off of this tight end because here in this league, tight ends matter a little more. Or maybe it's the opposite league. And you're like, you know what, man, let me get off of this Chig because it's not tight end premium and I know they don't matter. That is what the warp calculator can do. And the fact that we have the website that's doing that is crazy to me. His tool's amazing. And that's just the beginning. That's just what we're starting doing. But we appreciate every one of you guys tapping in. I'm out here on vacation rambling, so let me stop, get myself back home. We do really appreciate everyone tapping in. So if you could, go down, hit the like, subscribe button. Leave us a comment. Tell me I'm rambling, telling me the lights look crazy, the pinstripes. Just go. You should have went on vacation, not done the show this week. Whatever you want to tell me, I want to hear it. Also, if you do want your deals featured on this show, patreon.com/South Harmon. $1 a month gets you in the door. People have been yelling at us, Mike, about Underdog. We've been talking about it, and it's time to be about it. So, Mike, when I get back, we got to at least get some of these Underdogs draft going, because if you use our promo code 4DChess, you'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100. We're going to start doing some of these. Redraft mindset's really starting to kick around, and there's some big money to be had in the Underdog League. So, Mike, any final thoughts before we get out of here, buddy?
Man, that's all I got. You hit everything. We love you. We appreciate all the support. Just make sure that you keep engaging with us. We keep engaging back and keep bringing that fire content to you. I'm excited to see where this thing keeps heading, man. It started as a joke, and I think we far past exceeded the joke, man. For some reason, y'all keep coming back and fucking with us. So let's keep going, man. Adam in a hotel doing it. You never know where the next on-site location may be, man. I gotta get you on a boat or something.
Listen, had this room not been available, I would have went rip on it and tried it from a back porch. Honestly, at this point, I'm pretty much locked into the fact that the internet would have been as good, if not better, doing it that way. So locations are definitely going to start getting better, a little more creative on trips. Got all the stuff here ready to go, even though you're going to see the pinstripes in this one. But we appreciate what's happening. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. We will see you back here, same time, same place, next week, Saturday morning for the Dynasty Trade Show. We are out of this thing. Peace.
Peace.